All right, good evening, everyone. I see people coming in to the webinar, and I'd like to welcome all of you. My name is Julie Parks, and I am your principal here at Miramonte High School. Go Mats! And I'd like to welcome you to this very strange but exciting year that we are about to open. Before I get started, I wanted to just norm a few things for our room. I am recording this so that I can post the link up for folks who were not able to attend this evening. So just making you all aware that it is being recorded. And I have with me today in this webinar, Sarah Harris, who's one of our associate principals. And through the course of the webinar, she will be monitoring the question and answer section. And so if you have a question, please post it in the Q&A section that you see on your screen. And Ms. Harris will be able to answer those questions as they come in. Or if they're not going to be addressed, if she needs to give me those questions later in the webinar, she'll let me know so that I can hopefully address them. As we begin, I want to say full disclosure, there are some things that we don't have answers to yet. We are well on our way to having answers to any number of different questions that you might have, but there are some things that we have not quite figured out as we embark upon this year. That being said, please ask your questions, because often as we are going in and speaking with our parent groups and our student groups and our teacher groups, those questions help us identify gaps that will really help us in this transformation that we're going through this year. This year represents massive organizational change, and the wheels have been turning throughout the summertime to get ready for now. So I feel ready for the beginning of school next week, and I hope after this webinar, you'll feel a little more ready as well. So here we go. Well, I think I just welcomed you, but what I haven't said yet is thank you. Thank you for your patience with us, for your flexibility and your infinite kindness during this time. I know personally, having young children myself, how stressful it is to have a lot of unknowns going into the school year. We as a family are dealing with those unknowns just like you, and so I empathize with that sentiment with my full heart. This has been really challenging for all of us, but I feel so grateful to be in a community that has put so much trust in us. And what I owe back to you is an excellent education and a great experience for your child. And so please believe me when I say from the bottom of my heart that I appreciate what you've given to us in terms of the time to figure things out, and that I absolutely see that as a call to action on my end to make sure that what you do experience this year at Miramonte meets your expectations. So we look forward to being able to provide this excellent experience for your kids and welcome them into the home of the Matadors for a great year and a great 4 years to come. So what have we been up to over the last few weeks? Well, for many of us, summer felt like this weird blend into spring. But over the summer months, our staff has been working tirelessly to get things ready to go. We've been working to design a schedule that maximizes learning and connection based on the current research about how online learning really works for kids. And it's not a one-to-one transfer. When we talk about putting our students online for distance learning, we have to use a whole new set of skills and tools to be able to do that at the high level that we expect to be able to provide for your child. We've been working to refine guidelines for distance learning for our teachers and for our students. In the spring, as we had to triage into learning at home very quickly, we were putting those guidelines into place as we were instructing and moving forward. We've had time now over the summer to really think about the things that worked and didn't work, so that as we enter into the fall, we can have clear expectations for everyone to make sure that we are ensuring success. We've been transitioning to a new learning management system. I'll be talking about that a little bit more this evening, that we believe is going to provide so much more clarity and communication between our teachers and our students and our parents. In the fall, we used the tools we had at the time, which included Google Classroom, and in the spring, we had the tools of the time, which were Google Classroom and School Loop. And that made for a lot of confusion as kids were trying to navigate and figure out where to find work for all of their classes. Our new learning management system, Canvas, will collate all that information in one place so that it's much easier for students to understand what's expected out of them and get their work turned in on time. We've been collaborating with our teacher teams to make those instructional shifts that better meet our equity objectives. That's been a major undertaking for our district over the summer. And we have some great new guidelines in place that I will share with you this evening that discuss how we plan to meet our equity goals as a district. We've been preparing our campus to be safe and clean for student re-entry. While we're not coming onto campus right now, we want to be ready to transition to on-campus learning as soon as we can do so safely. So a lot of that has meant really refining our systems now to make sure that when we are ready to come back to school, we have great procedures and policies in place to make sure that our students and our staff are safe. And lastly, really thinking about our communications, making sure that we're communicating frequently with all of you. I'd like to thank you for receiving so many emails from me recently. There will be many more to come as we get going in the next few weeks. So my apologies for clogging up your inbox, but getting those communications out is really crucial to making sure people have what they need to be successful. I'd also like to introduce you to some of our support staff. These are just names on a page to you right now, but hopefully these are faces that you come to recognize soon, even if you see them virtually as opposed to in person. Sarah Harris, who is on this call with us, is one of our associate principals. Our other associate principal joining us this year is Bruce Duran, and you can see the alphas that they work with. Both of them are available for any question that you might have, and please utilize them as the great resources that they are. Our counseling staff is also listed on here. You'll see the alpha breakdown that we have right now. Right now, we do have a counselor who is on maternity leave. So Jackie Alvarado is filling in for the next month or so before Miss Connors comes back. We'll be sending out more information about these updated alphabets and an introduction of Miss Connors when she returns so that you will be up to date with that. I did want to make sure that I told you about two other really important people on our team for student support. Our wellness coordinator, Andy Nishimi, who provides mental health services through our wellness center, and our college and career advisor, Stephanie Brady, who will be meeting with our freshmen and then again, sophomore and junior and senior year to make sure that they are prepared for our college and career and really understand how to meet those goals that they have. So great programming happening through both of those spaces. So I want to talk to you a little bit about our vision, because as we are transitioning into distance learning, I want to ensure you that our goals and objectives as a school community really remain the same. And what you're about to see is the exact same slide that we worked on with our teachers earlier today as we recommitted to this vision and really talked about how to make this a reality, even with our distance learning model. We talk a lot at Miramonte about our why, and our why belongs right in the center of this target that you see in front of you. For Miramonte, our why is that we believe that all students can learn and connect at high levels. And for us, learning and connecting are really happening side by side. The research is very clear that students that connect at high levels achieve better academically, and they are at lower risk for a number of risk factors that can be detrimental to student health and wellness. So when we talk about our students achieving here at Miramonte, it's not just those grades that are showing up on the report card, but it is how they are connecting with their campus and with their community and with their teachers, because we know that this is what will ultimately provide our students with the best opportunity for success. This is uniquely challenging during a distance learning environment, but we've built some things into our schedule that we believe will provide specific time for this very task. And I have to say, this is actually unique from our schedule that we have in our traditional model, where we don't explicitly build this time in for our students. So as I get to that part of the presentation, hopefully that will become clear that we're really building this time in meaningfully and with intention so that our students can connect with their teachers and with other students at our school. After we talk about our why, we really talk a lot about how we're going to do that. And at Miramonte, that looks a lot like this. We have three major areas of focus. Excellent teaching, that comes from our teaching staff working collaboratively together to design their lessons to make sure that they are setting learning targets for our students and then using the best pedagogy that they can to get them there. Next comes student support, and you can't build in excellent instruction without robust systems to make sure that all students can access that curriculum. Through our academy structure that we have to provide extra intervention for students who need support, through our counseling services that we have in our student support team to make sure that we have eyes on every kid, and through our wellness center, we're really able to provide support at any level for our students. And lastly, we really look to develop that safe and healthy culture and climate. This year, that's going to mean a real focus for us on our equity work as we begin to explore race and the impact that that has for our students as they're navigating high school and the world. So let's get into the distance learning, because I know we have limited time tonight, and this is the most urgent topic for us right now. I'm going to pull up the most recent schedule for you that was just adopted last night at our governing board meeting. So this is the schedule right here, and it might be showing up a bit small on your screen. Let me make it a bit bigger. And then I'll scroll through it for you. This was just approved last night by our governing board, so it's hot off the presses. This is our distance learning schedule. Some of you have probably already seen it or one very similar to it. It has not changed too much in the last couple weeks, with a small exception regarding zero period. At Miramonte, zero period is only offered for our jazz band students. So if your student falls into that category, I will point out the small difference so that you know what that looks like. So to look at the schedule, let's start with Monday. And you can see on Monday, we do have a zero period section in the morning, but we also have this virtual Cohort Academy. You'll also notice on Monday that it says asynchronous instruction. Asynchronous instruction, which probably wasn't a word any of us were terribly familiar with a few months ago, has now become a regular part of our vocabulary. Asynchronous instruction refers to instruction that students do in prepared modules independently. The teacher prepares a lesson that's carefully crafted that takes students through various steps, often requiring some student work to contribute back to the teacher to show understanding of the material, and the student works through that independently. Because this work isn't happening with all of the students in the class at the same time, it's asynchronous instruction. And Monday is really devoted to asynchronous modules in our classroom. The only exception is the virtual Cohort Academy, which will take place every Monday morning from 9 until 9:45. During this time, students are required to come to class. They'll be coming to a class with a teacher who will be their Cohort Academy teacher throughout the entire year. Effectively, this will function as a homeroom. Students will see their Cohort Academy teacher on their schedules in the 8th period of the day. There should be a teacher name on the schedule. If you didn't see one on the portal yet, don't worry. When students get their printed schedules at Matt's Day or when they log in on Monday morning, they'll be able to see that teacher populated. That teacher will stay with the students, and various things will happen through that Cohort Academy across the year. I'll get into more detail on that in a little bit. But students will come in at 9 o'clock, attendance is required and will be taken in that class. And the teacher will engage in various activities with the student for about 45 minutes. For the remainder of the time on Monday, students will engage in the asynchronous content that will be posted in their Canvas portal. They will have course information for all of their courses compiled there, and they'll work independently through their content. You can see that on this schedule, it outlines periods 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through period 7, giving approximate times in which this work can occur. This is not a fixed schedule on Monday. Students can really move through those modules in whichever ways work for them. The schedule is a suggestion to help students and parents manage time throughout the day. The modules should take about 40 minutes for each class to complete on that day. And the reason for that is that this is part of our required instructional minutes for our students. So there will be work to complete independently on Monday that students will have to finish per their teacher's instructions. And you can expect your student to spend about a full school day engaging in that work. The only online component that will happen will be the virtual Cohort Academy. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, students will follow a block schedule that looks pretty similar to the schedule that we offer students during our traditional school year. Students will go to periods 1, 2, 3, and 7. And you can see the times in the schedule that those periods are offered. Students should expect to check into each of their periods every single day, Tuesday through Friday. So they will actually be going to each of those classes through a Zoom link and checking in with their teachers. However, we do not expect teachers, nor do we think that it's great practice for our kids for them to be in Zoom for that entire 75 minutes for every single period. Instead, what you can expect is that for period 1, over the 2 days that period 1 is meeting, they will be in synchronous class for approximately 70 minutes over those 2 days. Teachers are working right now to figure out how they want to arrange that time to best meet instructional goals. And in different classes, that might look a little bit different. In some classes, having a nice long block and then doing some independent work on the other block really meets instructional needs. In other classes, meeting more frequently, even for shorter amounts of time, is a better way to help students engage in their learning. You can expect the teacher to communicate those expectations clearly to students through the Canvas portal when those open up. But what you should know as a parent is that your child should be checking into each of these class periods every single day for attendance to be taken and for instruction to occur. The time that they spend in each one may be variable by teacher. On Wednesdays and Fridays, students will begin their day with Academy. Now, this is a little different than that Cohort Academy I was describing on Monday. Cohort Academy is about a student being in a homeroom with a single teacher throughout the year. The virtual academies are opportunities for students to choose a Zoom room that they would like to attend with a teacher that they may need extra help from. This is how we're going to provide targeted intervention for our students. So teachers may tag a student to join their academy, and at that time the student would go to that academy Zoom. For the rest of the day, students will be engaged in the rest of their block periods, periods 4, 5, and 6. They will again be checking in each of these classes every day. I think Ms. Harris is busy answering questions in the chat. I can't watch both at the same time, but I'm hoping you are getting your questions answered, or they will be curated and Ms. Harris will ask me questions at the end. So this gets a little bit into the weeds, as Ms. Brady reminded me, but because it's really important to me, I did want to put it up here. Social presence is how we think about connectedness for students when we are talking about online learning. And I wanted to point this out because this is part of our professional development with our teachers, and we are explicitly working on these aspects of social presence to ensure that our students feel connected in a virtual community. Things like community cohesion or interaction intensity, which refers to how frequently students are interfacing with each other in a synchronous environment. Effective association, really getting to know the emotions and expressions of somebody in a room, and instructor investment in that course are really key to our kids feeling connected in a digital environment. It does feel very different than being face-to-face, but there are some great strategies we can use to ensure that our students are still getting that great feedback from their teachers and interacting in ways that can build connections. So I went over Cohort Academy in some detail already, but just to reiterate, it's a required check-in on Monday mornings, and it functions like a homeroom. Students will be in small groups with the same teacher throughout the year. The 9th graders are in grade level peer groups. We've kept all of our ninth graders together because we know it's really important for ninth graders who are sharing a very similar transitionary experience to be together in those groups. And the teacher that the students are assigned for their Cohort Academy teacher is a teacher that they also have during their regular school day. So it really allows for that relationship to develop more deeply. There's going to be a lot of content that we put through the Cohort Academy throughout the year. Some of these things will include equity breakout sections, case management by the homeroom teacher who will be able to really interact individually with students and monitor their progress. First year seminar, which we usually deliver through Academy for 5 sessions a year, will happen through this time. And there will also be presentations from wellness and college and career that will run through the Cohort Academy to make sure that our students are really aware of the resources that they have on campus. The Wednesday and Friday academies are again required for students. And like I stated before, they're available for students to seek out extra academic support. Teachers may tag a student into the academy if the student requires targeted intervention to be able to meet academic goals. That attendance is required. And this is also an opportunity for us to provide time for our students for other activities. Things like clubs or affinity spaces or leadership activities often run through Academy. And as we move through the year, I expect that we'll see more and more opportunities for our kids to engage in different ways during Academy, not just exclusively for academic support. So let's talk a little bit about Canvas. You are about to get very familiar with this term because it is our new learning management system, and it's really fabulous. It makes finding classes and grades and the information that parents and students need very, very simple. You don't have to belong to multiple Google Classrooms and go to various places to get information. Instead, through one portal, you'll be able to see all of your course content. Furthermore, we're able to develop special classes for things like college and career or wellness or the counseling office so that our students have resources at their fingertips that we can continue to update and keep really current throughout the year. This is going to be a robust place for our students to get information. It's also the place where students are going to get the Zoom links for their classes. So those Zoom links will be right through their Canvas pages. So all they have to do is open that page to be able to have that link at their fingertip. All the asynchronous content will live here for students to complete. Grades are incorporated in the system, and you will be receiving an email on Monday with details on how to set up your parent account so that you can get into the system and see what is happening for your child as well. The teacher accounts will go live by August 17th for the courses. We're keeping those courses in the background right now because we don't want to overwhelm our students with seeing a bunch of course content before they even begin the year. What they can expect to see on Monday as we get ready for our Tuesday opening is some courses go up there for some of the introductory materials that we'll be doing with them during the first week of school. But the course content for all of their academic classes will stay in the background until we have our first real course meetings on August 17th. I got some great questions from families about curriculum design and what it looks like for teachers to get ready for a new year after coming off of a spring of distance learning. We do have reduced instructional minutes during our distance learning model. And this means that we do have to be strategic in identifying our essential standards to ensure that our students have all the material that they need to be prepared to move on to the next course. This is at the heart of our work right now. Our teachers are already identifying these things and taking into account that our kids came off of a really weird spring. And so there are likely instructional gaps that we're going to need to fill at the beginning of the year to make sure that kids are really ready for their 9th grade. What you can expect in terms of curriculum is a lot of normal school functions. In the spring, many of these were on pause, but in But in the fall, grades will be administered. You'll be able to see those grading scales on Canvas. Students will be assessed on their work, but you can expect that assessment to look a little differently than it may look in a classroom, traditional classroom setting, to ensure that we are able to provide assurance of academic integrity. We want to make sure that all of our students have an equal opportunity to perform at a high level. And so really being thoughtful about academic integrity and how it looks in this virtual environment is something that teachers are really conscious of right now. Teachers will provide feedback and grades will be updated frequently for students and parents to view. One of the things that we're working on with our Teachers Association right now is the frequency of grade updates. And we're in agreement that posting our grades with more frequency will really help our students to be more successful in a distance environment. So I expect that we'll see those grades updated with a higher degree of frequency than we've seen before. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and being able to provide that information to students and families more quickly. I'm putting this slide up here because I want to make you aware of it. But full disclosure, I think we're still in some development around homework with regards to distance learning. Currently, what you see on the screen is our board policy with regards to homework, which has been over the last couple years, approximately 2 hours of focused, undistracted homework time per week per class. Now, in a virtual environment, the way we learn looks a lot different. So I don't know how we will adapt to that as we move through the first few weeks of school. But I am telling you in this meeting that you should be prepared for your child to have some homework in addition to their time in the synchronous classes and completing the asynchronous modules. For example, in English classes, students will be reading novels. So there'll be some expected out of class time for students to be able to read that text, to be able to come into the synchronous environment ready to discuss and really engage with each other. There will be some homework, but I do suspect that we're going to be very thoughtful about that and how much time that should be really taking during a distance environment. I wish I could give you a more firm answer on this, but I wanted to be very honest with you about where we were on this right now and make sure that I was clear with what the policy was in this moment. So moving on from distance learning, I do want to touch upon equity because this has been a topic of discussion throughout the summer. And we've been working very hard at Miramonte and within our district to put together plans that really represent our goals in terms of equity. What I'm going to pull up right now is posted on our website. This is our draft, and it is a working document of our Miramonte Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Plan. Over the summer, it became very evident to us that there are 4 major areas that we needed to work on to provide a more equitable and safe environment for our students. The first area that came up was curriculum reform and the need to redesign curriculum and around ensuring that we were incorporating multiple perspectives and eliminating false narratives in our classes. Right now, our teachers are working in their course-alike teams to identify goals specific to their content area that will help them move towards making these adjustments in their courses. You see a couple areas here with asterisks next to them that represent some sample goals that teachers are working on right now around within those different departments. That was work we did today at our staff development meeting, so you can expect some more updates to this document in the upcoming days as we incorporate that new work. Another thing that we do in curriculum is we really do deep analysis of our achievement gaps, really disaggregating that data by gender, by race, by student program to ensure that we are really addressing all of the gaps that we see within our student population. We provide professional development for our teachers, but specifically this year we'll be focusing on the social studies curriculum, and we're going to want to set some goals to make sure that we continue to offer more diversity of courses and promote courses like ethnic studies or deconstructing race that provide multiple perspectives from populations that are not generally centered in our curriculum as it stands right now. The other area that we really needed to address was our policy and systems. Your students are going to hear a lot about this next week as they go into their first academies and they learn about our protocols and our policies at school. We'll be rolling out a few different things to students. One of those things is an anti-racist code of conduct for all students that has explicit information with regards to how we handle discipline around incidents of racism. We're also introducing an anti-bias reporting system that will be rolled out for all students to be able to report incidents of bias and have that addressed by a team on campus. Our counselors and administrators are being trained on restorative practices that we'll be building into the school systematically. And we are also looking at our athletic teams and our co-curricular groups to make sure that we're replicating these same policies all the way through our school events. The next area that came up from many of our students, including some of our recent graduates, was the need to really rebuild our culture at Miramonte. And what came out loud and clear from them is that there was a need for all students to discuss race and its impact on campus. In the coming weeks, your student will participate in several breakout sessions that are going to be centered on this very topic. They're going to be facilitated by our teachers and teacher teams within those cohort academies. And we've been working closely with a consultant with our district to make sure that those lessons are really developmentally appropriate for our kids, engaging, and provide safe opportunities for students to share. We're really looking forward to this as a way to kick off our year this year. In addition to that, we're supporting our cultural and affinity groups on campus. We're working with alumni leaders who have great new perspective to bring back to us. And we are introducing this year a class focus on racial equity leadership development. And lastly, and this is a really exciting area, we have a parent group that is formed, the Miramonte Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion group that runs through our Parents Club. They've set some really great goals for the year and are already putting out some great materials, including opportunities to join a book group. Please go to our website and look under the Equity tab, and you'll be able to get linked up with that group to find out more. This slide outlines some information that will happen during our first 2 equity breakout sessions. You received an email from the district office recently that had this same information in it, and I'll be sending out additional information as well so that you have this as parents at home to discuss with your children. On Thursday and Friday of next week during Cohort Academy time, students will have 2 lessons on equity. And we went over these with our teachers today. Our teachers are really excited about this opportunity to engage in great discussion with their students. And we hope that this is also an opportunity for parents to engage in this discussion as well. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you. Okay. We'll move it into the first few weeks because now we just got to get to what's right in front of us. I've given you a lot of big picture information, but what's coming up immediately is probably what's most important to you right now. The first thing that's coming up is that on Monday we have Mats Day. We are offering a socially distanced and appropriately masked Mats Day on campus so that we can greet all of our students personally at this physical space. It was really important to us to provide an opportunity for students to connect physically here at Miramonte. And so we took a lot of time to make sure that we could provide that opportunity for students that in a safe way. Our website has specific times and groups. That's been moving around a lot as we've been finalizing those groups, but it's looking pretty firm by now, so please check that out. And students were grouped with their Cohort Academy students so that they can get to know each other a little bit before they show up in the Zoom room together. So we think this is a good opportunity to let them have a little bit of time together in person so that they can make those connections early. These groups will be facilitated by our Link Crew leaders who are upperclassmen who will be coming to school and giving tours to the students, engaging in some dialogue and some Q&A, and then making sure that they get their essential materials before they leave. It'll take approximately 30 minutes for students to go through the process. And in addition to a great orientation with upperclassmen, students are going to receive some materials that they're going to need, including their internet passwords to set up their Google accounts, which they should definitely do on Monday after they get home. They'll get student ID numbers. They'll get their schedules in a paper form, and they'll get their books and supplies, which they'll be walking through the cafeteria to pick up and scan out. If they need Chromebooks, students will be able to check those out at this time as well. It's all ready and set up for them. Here's a little more detail about materials and supplies. If you cannot attend Matt's Day, don't worry. Tuesday through Friday during that first week of school, we'll have our cafeteria open with our library technician from 12 to 3 for students to pick up any materials or exchange things that they may have picked up by mistake. That space will be open and ready to receive students during that time. If it doesn't work for you to pick up during that time, please just contact us and we'll make sure that we get all the materials to you. The Chromebooks, like I said, are also available to check out during those same times. And there'll be periodic instructional material pickup for classes that will continue throughout the year. We anticipate in our arts and electives that we will need to occasionally provide new materials to students. And so we'll be communicating with families of students in those classes when those pickup times are so that we can make sure that you have what you need at home. This gives you an outline of the first couple weeks of school and what you can expect in terms of instruction. Now, I know I just went through the whole schedule with you, but the first week of school is going to look a little different than the rest of the year. August 10th, like I just said, is our Matt's Day. So students will come in, and what you see in green is what they should do at home. They should definitely set up their student email that evening. They'll also, when they set up their email, see a note from their Cohort Academy teacher welcoming them to their Cohort Academy and providing them with the link that they'll need to be able to get there on time on August 11th for their first Cohort Academy. Cohort Academy starts at 9 a.m. on August 11th, and students should be present in the Zoom room at that time. During that Cohort Academy, they'll spend those 45 minutes going over a welcome lesson with students getting to know each other, going over a few Zoom norms, and just warming up for the year. After they get off of that synchronous Cohort Academy, they will have a lesson to do. They'll be doing a welcome and a Canvas tutorial so that they really know how to navigate their new learning management system. That'll be required for them to do after the Cohort Academy on August 11th. It will not take the whole day for students to do that, but it will be a bit of work that they will need to do asynchronously. On August 12th, they will meet with their Cohort Academy again. In fact, that whole first week, they will just be meeting with their Cohort Academy synchronously. We will not have our regular school schedule that first week because we have a lot of buildup to do to get kids ready to really be successful in their academic classes. So on August 12th, they'll meet again from 9 to 9:45. A second lesson will be given. This one will be on school norms and policies. And again, they'll have a module to work on independently after that Cohort Academy so that we make sure that they get all that information at the beginning of the year. August 13th and 14th, the Cohort Academies will meet and we'll have equity lessons 1 and 2 on that day. There will be some work for students to do at home on those equity lessons after the Cohort Academy. So to be clear, whole first week of school, students are required to be in their Cohort Academies from 9 o'clock to about 9:45 each morning, and then they will have some independent work to do in the afternoon. It's a bit of a slow start as we get ramped up, but we believe that really establishing this firm foundation is going to really set our kids up for success. Moving into the next week on August 17th, we're going to switch it up on you a little bit. Normally that day would be a day with just a Cohort Academy and asynchronous lessons. But because this will be the first day that students are actually in class with their academic teachers, we're going to run through a synchronous Zoom check-in for every period. So students should follow that class schedule that is in the schedule for our distance learning in that way. They should go from periods 1 through 7 throughout the day. They'll be checking in with their teachers. It'll be a long day on Zoom, but they'll get all of that foundational material that they need, the syllabi from their teachers, and more importantly, an opportunity to get to know their teachers and their classmates before they jump into instruction. Once we get to Tuesday, August 18th, we're really just in it. Students will go through a block day as it shows up on the schedule. And then that will continue throughout the rest of the week with students then going to a Cohort Academy on the 19th. That'll be Equity Lesson 3, and then their regular block day for Wednesday. August 20th will be a regular block day for Thursday. And then again on August 21st, we'll be in the regular schedule as you see printed on the adopted schedule. A quick reminder that back to school night is on August 20th. There'll be synchronous opportunities for you to enter into Zoom rooms with teachers, and I will be providing you a lot more details about that coming soon. I've gotten some really wonderful questions about community building, and I did want to address this a bit in this message today. This is one of those things I don't have all the answers for yet, but I can tell you that in the spring, we really were intentional about trying to provide community building opportunities for our kids. It was challenging because the spring was such a quick transition, and getting that engagement in these community building events was a challenge for our students as they were trying to navigate this really different world that we found ourselves in. In the spring, we did offer virtual rallies. We offered Mats Fit for students to exercise at the end of each day. We had lunchrooms open by our teachers for students to drop in to and just talk about different topics, or sometimes we had themed rooms. There were Harry Potter discussions happening, or a room where you would share your pet, just to give kids an opportunity to talk about different things with their classmates. We had office hours that were offered throughout the day, and also virtual events that started happening as we got to the end of the year. And we found new engaging ways to do our plays and our award nights, and of course graduation. And so I'm looking forward to doing many of these same things and adding in a lot of other opportunities as well for our students to build community with each other. Our leadership class will be hitting the beginning of the year strong and looking for ways to build relationships between our students and keep everybody really engaged. Before we wrap up here, I wanted to remind you about some ways that you can stay connected, because your connection is also really important. There are a lot of different ways that we connect. I send out constant contacts through the principal's message, but there's also special constant contacts that come out from college and career and athletics. And so if you are signed up on the constant contact list, and hopefully you are, you'll be receiving all sorts of different news on different events that are coming up. If you haven't received any constant contacts from me, please email Betsy Canty at bcanty@auhsdschools.org, and she will make sure that you get on the constant contact list so that you don't miss any news. The other great place for information is the Matador News. You can find the link on the Parents Club website, and I've put it in here. I'll post this presentation afterwards for all of you. Our Parents Club sends out great information, including class news specific to your child's class. And so if you want to keep really up to date, it's important to sign up for that Matador News also. I do have an Instagram. I can't promise that it's always super entertaining, but I do try to post on it with some degree of frequency. So if you're on Instagram, go ahead and follow me. I also have a YouTube channel where I put often very boring videos, a bit like this one may look after we're done, but it does have some information that may be of interest. So that's another place to get information. And of course, our Miramonte High School website, which we are working on getting even more up to date, as we know that that's going to be a main stopping place for people as we continue in the upcoming months. So as we close out, I just want to promise you that here, Miramonte is what we make it. And so our teachers really do believe that. We have a great committed staff here at Miramonte who really put their hearts and souls into the work that we do for our kids. And so we believe that every day we've got to show up and do our best for them. And I can say with confidence that I truly believe that that's what happens amongst our staff. I'm looking forward to committing to that this year for all of you. And I really appreciate you coming to this webinar and listening to a lot of words come out of my mouth. And I hope I was able to answer some of your questions. So with that, we will transition to questions, and I am going to ask Ms. Harris if there's anything that she had in the chat that should be addressed.
I did have one thing, Julie, that I'm not sure you can answer right now, but it was something that was brought up by a couple of parents.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of this general overall concern about the lack of consistency with the lunch times during the course of the week. And if there's any potential that the lunch times can be consistent just for planning and purposes of organizing schedules.
That's a good question. Let me pull up the schedule for us again so we can take a look at that together as we talk about that. So the lunch times do vary a bit. Lunch on, it's at about 12:10 on Mondays, but remember Monday can be very flexible. So students don't have to be in any specific place at any specific time, with the exception of the virtual Cohort Academy. So lunch can be pretty flexible on that day. I'm seeing that on Tuesday and Thursday, lunch is happening at about 11:45 on the Tuesdays and Thursdays and about 12:45 on the Wednesdays. I can absolutely understand how that creates some organizational challenges at home, trying to make sure that you're appropriately monitoring your child while getting your own work done, while probably monitoring another child at the same time. I feel ya. And really the reason for that is because we've moved this academy to a different time of the day, and we moved back the start time to 9 o'clock as opposed to an 8 and 8:30 start to really facilitate what we know our teenagers need in terms of sleep. So the answer to the question is I don't believe that that will be shifted at this point, although we are going to be continuing to get feedback from folks over the first few weeks of distance learning, and we are absolutely open to making adjustments as we see things work or not work for our kids and our families. But at this time, yes, we'll have to be prepared for lunch at variable times throughout the week.
Another thing that came up just in regards to the Parents Club page for the class of 2024 and how there are resources for them to go on that website and look. And there's forums for them to kind of ask questions and get their stuff answered. So that was a helpful piece of information. And then there was a question that I wanted to ask you in regards to, I know this schedule was just adopted by our board. When do you think you will be sending out communication or a digital copy of the schedule, and especially for the first week?
Great question. So I'm trying to remember when the email hit my inbox. It was either last night or early today. Dr. Nickerson did send an email with this official schedule after the governing board meeting was concluded and the schedule was officially adopted. There is a YouTube video that I have put up already on my YouTube channel that does explain the schedule. The only exception, which I'm realizing right now I forgot to mention, is the 0 period, which has moved. So let me explain that real quick to everybody so I make sure I get that information. On Monday, 0 period is still an asynchronous period, so that will be work that students will complete independently, however it works for them within the day. In the other days, 0 period will happen on Wednesdays and Fridays later in the day. The reason for the move of 0 period later in the day is because with students doing their 0 period jazz band at home, it would mean a very early start time for band practice. And there were some concerns that came up from our jazz teachers as well as community members and parents of jazz students that early morning practice of a trumpet may be disruptive to the rest of the family and neighbors as well. So we move that later in the day because students are obviously not on campus to do this. So if they will need to be practicing, we needed to move it to a time that was more practical for that particular class. My my webcast that I did on YouTube should fully explain the schedule, but I will send out the updated version in the Matador News tomorrow. And I will also send with that the first couple weeks schedule to help clarify some of the anomalies that are happening at that time.
That was all the questions I was unable to answer at this time.
Great. Well, very good. Okay. This is the first time I've done a webinar, so I haven't gotten particularly savvy at doing things like putting music in the background, which perhaps would make it feel a little bit more welcoming. But I really appreciate you all coming this evening. Thank you for your engagement. If there are any questions that you did not get answered that you still have, please do not hesitate to email me or Ms. Harris or Mr. Duran, and we'll be happy to get those answers to you as soon as possible. We're really looking forward to a great year. So thank you for your time, and go Mats!